Test prep strategy at AEI. Teaching test prep strategy is not just about understanding the subject content, reading comprehension, or algebraic equations. Rather, test preparation strategies are really here to help students increase three basic aspects of student performance in standardized testing. These are accuracy, speed, and confidence. All test preparation students have the same basic goal. They want to get the highest score possible, or in other words, they want to do their best. But this notion of best is very vague. In reality, they need to focus on a different goal to raise their scores high enough to get into the desired program they're seeking. So this means they have to improve their overall accuracy, answering questions correctly. Standardized test scores usually have three component parts: the raw score, the scaled score, and the percentile. Now, the raw score is simply the number of correct answers. A scaled score is based on some correlation between questions and difficulty levels. And then percentiles are based on how the student's score compares to the rest of their test-taking cohort, usually within that month-long time period, sometimes over the time period of a year. If students want to see their scores improve, they have to be aware of how both test scoring and goal setting work. So AEI teaches that good goals are SMART, S-M-A-R-T, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. Students should not merely strive for their best, because best is vague. It has no measurable components, it's not achievable, it's not realistic, and it has no time limits. Instead, students need to be aware that they have enrolled in a test preparation program because they want structure and accountability. We enforce this through our time limits, 8-week sessions per level, and by guiding students to track their own progress on the practice test. We just check them for completion, and then we also try to get them to set realistic expectations. For example, I mentioned this below, no one can achieve a perfect score. First off, because the scale of the percentile scores only goes up to 99% on most tests, and on the GRE quantitative section specifically, the highest scaled score, percentile score you can get is a 96%. This is because engineers take the GRE and they wreck the curve for everybody else. So we have to help them set these realistic expectations and help them realize how much they can achieve so long as they put forth the required effort. It is just not realistic to expect their score to go up if they only come to class for the 6 hours a week of instruction. This is why we also have 16 hours required of lab every week. So a perfect score is not only impossible to achieve numerically, it's also statistically impossible to achieve, and a test prep instructor needs to guide students setting these expectations for score improvement. Drilling practice problems is an essential component of test preparation for several reasons. First, it enables the teacher and the student to see where the teacher needs to focus for their improvement. For example, a student who's good at geometry but bad at statistics needs to practice statistics more, but might avoid it because they just hate it so much. Likewise, students who are really good and prefer vocabulary questions to the reading section will ultimately prevent themselves from improving their reading score if they don't practice their reading. The instructor must guide the student to make the right choices in their study habits. Second, drilling improves accuracy when it comes with feedback, but the feedback is crucial. Otherwise, all the student is going to see is that they have X number of questions wrong, which does not help them and may even discourage them. Instructors need to use their office hours and instructional time to address these struggle areas. And then lastly, note, drilling is really important, especially for vocabulary and learning word recognition, whether the word recognition is just English language words or specifically math vocabulary, because we try to improve automaticity, the student's ability to automatically recognize these terms. So that's the first point. Accuracy. Secondly, speed. The second most common aspect of test preparation most students identify as their weakness is their speed. Inevitably, even the best mathematicians and writers coming out of our program still struggle to finish all questions on every section of the standardized test within the allotted time. The best way to address this is to provide the students explicit guidance how to improve their speed in addition to their accuracy. So we have a number of basic strategies some people may not know. First, we teach all of our students to, if they can, take the easy test first, quote unquote. While not all standardized tests allow you to move around in the question order, some, like the GRE, will do. Other tests, like the GMAT, permit you to choose the order in which you take the sections. So students ought to take the parts of the test that they find the easiest and most comfortable first. This enables them to go quickly, helps them improve their accuracy, and actually will build their confidence during testing. Second, the process of elimination for all multiple choice sections of any test is a strategic form of guessing that improves the student's statistical chances of selecting correct answers even when they are unsure or have no clue what the answer is. Once obvious errors are eliminated, one can go from selecting an answer with 20% chance accuracy to a 50-50 shot of getting the right answer by guessing. Third, memorization. Flashcards are the most reliable way to memorize vocabulary, math formulas, and so forth, but there are other methods. The point of memorization, whatever method you use, is to speed up calculations, word recognition, and decision making by reducing the time the student has to spend mentally searching for very basic information. Repetition is key. The more times we use a fact, the more likely we remember it. Muscle memory conventionally requires 100 practice attempts to develop automatic reactions. And for word recognition, linguistics tells us that students require at least 8 genuine, authentic interactions and uses of a given word to develop this automaticity in word usage. Greek and Latin roots will be especially important for your higher level academic vocabulary, so test prep students in particular are encouraged to memorize roots from the Greek and Latin words roots list and AEI data in the test prep subfolder of the resources folder. Your textbooks will talk about the process of elimination and numerous other strategies, such as picking numbers, choosing your own word, and back solving, also known as plugging in the answers. But do not forget to emphasize the important role of rote memorization for certain aspects of both verbal and mathematics portions of standardized tests. These include the recommended vocabulary given in the textbook, plus Greek and Latin roots and affixes, the method for mapping reading passages, templates for the essay or essays, formulas for algebra, geometry, combinatorics, statistics, probability, arithmetic, and the keywords for word problems, basic arithmetic equivalencies for the first 10 factorials, the first 25 square numbers, the first 10 cube numbers, and the first 10 fractions, decimals, and percentages, plus specific subject vocabulary for each of the areas of math and language tested. These memorization charts are also available in the test prep subfolder of the resources folder on AEI data. One final tool students can use to improve their speed is to practice questions with a 2-minute timer. So if someone practices with a clock that beeps every 2 minutes, one can develop a sense for how long 2 minutes is and will automatically guess and move on once they reach that limitation. This sort of drilling, however, should be reserved for the most advanced students who have otherwise plateaued in their advancement. The last and third principle of test preparation strategy is building confidence. Remember that there are very intelligent people who struggle with test anxiety, math anxiety, and performance anxiety in general. Part of our job as instructors who provide a nurturing environment for learning is to build student confidence. So positive feedback really is the most essential thing. The easiest way to provide positive feedback is to verbally praise students who attempt problems, who try to answer questions, who participate during group work and pair work. Another important way to increase test taker confidence is to keep records of their early practice test scores and compare those to later practice test scores before the final exam on the standardized test that they ultimately take. Calculate their scores as base percentages of correct responses to number of total responses and individually share to the student how they have improved over the course of their preparation path. What I like to do is give a diagnostic exam on the first day and then have the students do a practice test the last time they meet before the final exam, and then tell them in a private chat message or on a piece of paper if they're in the classroom, this was your first day's score and this is your today's score. See how much you have improved. It really does a lot to boost student motivation. Remember, you can also build student confidence in other ways outside of test prep instruction, particularly for our international students. Many of the grad program application processes can seem arcane and obscure. So, an important resource you can provide as a test prep instructor is to offer to write recommendation letters or provide other assistance during the graduate school application process if you're comfortable providing that assistance. This will give the student the confidence that not only do they have the necessary skills, they also have the social and academic support to do well in test preparation and school application. So I'm going to stop this video now. The next one will talk about the test prep classroom.